Shalom and Chag Sameach for those of you that are celebrating Passover, Pesach, during this time. If you're celebrating it during another time, well, here's an early Chag Sameach to you too.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Barry, good morning. How are you?
Surprisingly awake and alive and feeling okay. Yeah.
Right. Surprisingly, is that it was a shock to you to wake up this morning?
Well, it's going to be one of those overcast, dreary, rainy style days today. Hard weather coming, so but it's good.
Yeah, we got the same thing, and it's supposed to get down in the low 20s here tomorrow, which I'm like, no, this can't be. I've got these peach blossoms, and now I got to go out there and try to cover these trees up, and it seems like that happens every year. And you know, it's one of those things. I was thinking about this morning, Barry. I'm teaching right now. I just did a message on our website, commercial message there. Be on the website starting tomorrow, I think it is. But I'm teaching on the millennium. And one of the things that I kind of imagine about the millennium is that creation quits fighting against you. That creation begins to cooperate. It's like, you know, when you explained last year growing a garden, and all the things that you went through to get just this little kind of a handful of produce. And it's like everything that you have is fighting against you. But there's going to be a time in the millennium that creation cooperates with us to bring forth the fruit of this earth.
Yeah, you know, if we will remember, at the result trial of their sin of Adam and Chava, he increased he multiplied the opportunity for a woman to bear children and increase pain. To the man, he looked, I'm sure in my mind, he pointed his finger at him and then lowered the finger and cursed the ground instead. So there is a curse on the ground that limits its productivity and its fruitful return to us for our labor. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize how bad my ground was cursed last year. And I didn't realize that tobacco hornworms were in my ground. I'd never seen them on my property in 25 years plus. I didn't know that they were around here. So they must have been in larvae form in the soil that I put there. Yeah. But I lost entire plants overnight to them rascals.
There's things I let my mind wander when it comes to millennium. And, one of those things, can you imagine what a rose will smell like? When it's no longer
peaches. Can you imagine how big a peach can be in the millennium when the curse is lifted?
I mean, to have that running down your cheeks. Millennium peach ice cream. There's something to look forward to, Barry.
How many people can one watermelon take care of in the millennium?
Well, Barry, in my estimation, there is a time period that we've got to go through before we get to those wonders. And that is the time of a tribulation. Now, we've been taught that it's 7 years. Some believe it's 3.5 years. There's one teacher that I respect. I don't know if I agree, but I respect him, that believes it's going to be about a year. I'm kind of going for the 24 hours. I think I can probably get through that, but we'll have to see.
You can hide under a rock that long.
Yeah, there you go. There's an interesting thing that ties the going all the way back to Leviticus, ties that into the precursor of the millennium, and that is the tamid, or the continual offering. Now, you just went through, and I really encourage people to go back to I think it was last week's 10-minute tour that you did, and you go through these offerings in a way that I enjoy that teaching every year that you do. It just reminds me of these. But the one that stuck out to me this year was the Tamid offering. And it's my understanding that it's the morning and evening offering, which we would see at about 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So what is it about this offering that separates it from from other offerings?
Well, the 9 a.m. offering, from recent study, from what I understand, no offering is placed on the altar prior to the 9 a.m. offering of a lamb.
Okay.
And no offering is placed on the altar after the evening sacrifice, which takes place at about 3 in the afternoon, of another lamb. That second lamb continues to burn on the altar along with the residue of any other offerings all night until we read, as we did in last week's Torah portion, at least for those who are on the regular cycle, in Leviticus chapter 6, when it says in verse 9 about commanding Aaron and his sons to take care of the ashes of the altar. Even the bone fragments had to be burned into ashes and completely consumed. That's the residual remains of the 3 o'clock offering from the previous day, plus again any other offerings on there. This offering is offered every day, even on Yom Kippur, on Shabbat, on all feast days. It is the foundational offering. And according to, and you'll find in Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 28, the instructions for this offering. But Mike, it goes all the way back to Exodus or Shemot 24, where Moshe is standing at the foot of the mountain. An altar is set up. Pillars for Israel have been set up. And he says, the young men. Now, who are these young men? These would be the young men who act as family heads or priests functioning for their homes. One could argue of the Melchizedek or Melchizedek order, which would have been in operation in some framework at that time. Yeah. The Levitical not been established yet. The young men went and offered Olah or Olot, the ascending offerings, and Zevakim or peace offerings. The Olot that they were offering, Moshe took the blood of that, and it's other than blood being placed upon the ear, right thumb, and right great toe of a priest at ordination. From my research, it's the only other time that blood is applied to the people. Moshe sprinkles the people with the blood, and the people respond, not say Vanishma. We will do, and we will hear. The daily Tamid is a reinforcing, in my understanding, of that commitment on a daily basis. Wow. In the morning, we declare we will do and we will hear. Maybe in the evening, we would say we have done and we will continue to hear. Okay. Israel failed to do either one of those wholesale. There were individuals, there were groups, etc. But the 10 northern tribes, the lost house of Israel that Yeshua said in Matthew 15 he was coming for, had failed in gross depravity to keep that commitment. Yeshua went to the tree at 9 a.m. in the morning and died at 3 in the afternoon. Was he the Tamid offering that atoned for a house of Israel who failed to not say Vanishma according to their earlier commitment? Okay. That's a brief overview.
Okay, let me go back into something that you talked about, that this offering, the continual offering, it was to be placed upon the fire, and it was totally consumed. There's nothing that the priest was able to partake of. Everything was consumed upon that
Yeah.
altar. We had one year that, in doing a demonstration, not a sacrifice, but a demonstration, memorial, if you would, we did a slaughter of a goat for Passover, and we decided to do this of burning up everything that was left over, the entrails, the skin, the bones, everything. It's a process. I mean, and it doesn't smell good. Roasting the meat on the fire is like, hey, somebody's got a barbecue going on. You throw that skin on there and the insides, it smells bad, really bad. And it's not just something you do, you just don't throw that skin over there on the fire and it's all of a sudden, poof, it's consumed. You have to work with it. You have to literally work it into the fire and keep the fire going. And that's one of the things that Vayikra tells us. They had to keep the fire going. The amount of wood that it took for this sacrifice was probably another subject to talk about. But so we see this Tamid offering, the 9 o'clock, the 3 o'clock, and of course going over, as you said, to Yeshua being placed upon an execution stake at 9, and then dying at 3 o'clock. Take this then to the book of Daniel. What do we see there is this the offering that he's talking about with when you see the abomination which causes desolation?
You're catching me. Well, I know it's there. I'm thinking that it is. Let me see if I can find the right chapter here.
Yeah, trying to find Daniel sometimes can be interesting too. They change the books, the order of them. Yeah, there it is, Daniel chapter. Well, I get Daniel at least. And I know that, of course, it's over into, Yeshua speaks of this in Matthew chapter 24 also.
Yeah, it's in Daniel chapter number 9, verse 27. When the next temple is constructed, and let me pause there for our listeners. Yah is not asking for our acceptance or approval as to what he's going to orchestrate. But the temple is going to be rebuilt. There is a priesthood that, from my understanding, is in training now.
Yes.
Artifacts, furnishings have been established already. Rumor had it some years ago. I would really need to talk to Hanok about this. I don't know if it's true or not. This is just a wild thought until I can verify it. But what I heard years ago is that there is a modular temple ready to go up and pour parts already done that it can be put up quickly.
To break in there, the understanding is today, and this is the best understanding I have, is that the temple does not need to be rebuilt, but the altar.
The altar.
And so the Temple Institute, which you went with me to, that altar is a modular altar, and it is designed to be taken apart within moments' time. Actually, could be transported to the Temple Mount and set up. The altar could then be functional within a very short amount of time. Okay. And this could be what the Tamid offering is. You don't actually have to have a temple at that time in order to do the offering.
Okay, so there is going to be the reinstitution of sacrifices as an act of worship to the Creator. And again, Yah did not ask our permission.
Yeah.
It didn't ask our opinion. Okay. As a result of that, I can imagine that there would be many well-intentioned people crying out against that altar because, in their estimation, it is an effort to replace the completed work that Yeshua has done, failing to see that it is actually a revelation of what he has done. Now, it says in Daniel chapter 9, concerning the anti-Messiah, verse 27, and he, the anti-Messiah, shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. And in the middle of the week, he shall put an end to slaughtering and meal offering. And on the wing of abominations he shall lay waste, even until the complete end, and that which is decreed is poured out on the one who lays waste. This is the anti-Messiah who is going to put a stop to the daily continual offering, the Tamid offering, which will be, again, it's the foundational offering. That's the first thing that they would do. He's going to put a stop to it. Yah has designed that it would take place. He's going to stop it. So for those that will be crying out against that altar, be careful who you become in league with and in agreement with. That's just an idea. So my encouragement is that when they start the sacrifices again, don't speak against it, whether you approve, agree, or understand or not. Yah didn't ask what our opinion was.
What percentage, this is hypothetical, of course, what percentage of modern day Christianity would speak against that altar?
Majority.
What percentage of modern day Messianic would probably speak against that altar?
At least half.
Yeah. Because, when I talk to Rico about the temple, it's a hot button. It is a hot button, and it's one of those that is a vestige of anti-Semitism that is brought over from Christian teachings, that somehow that the death of Yeshua did away with all of those things, where in fact we see that the Tamid offering was a foreshadow to looking toward Yeshua, or the Messiah, in my opinion, and the reinstitution of will in a way be looking back, but also looking forward again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is because the scripture says in Revelation that Yeshua is slain before the foundations of the earth. We somehow, the problem is trying to put time into timeless.
Doesn't fit real well.
Yeah, trying to put this natural realm, fitting these two realms together with our limited knowledge and understanding sometimes can get in the way. Okay, with that being said, there's going to be, in your estimation, in mine, there's going to be a reinstitution of the Tamid offering on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, in Israel, by those who are trained to be priests. Now, could be, this dawned on me the other day, could there be a precursor, a calling to that reinstitution of the altar, something that begins in the natural realm, speaking into the spiritual realm, declaring into the spiritual realm, that causes those two to come together and literally is ushering in the reinstitution of the Tamid offering. As
I'm trying to make sure I understand that multifaceted and lengthy question.
Okay.
I don't know if this is where you're going, but I think the prayer that is gaining steam and becoming more prominent that Yeshua taught us to pray, your kingdom come and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Mike, and give me 1 minute to break that down. Dr. Sakina taught at House of David a number of years ago that Yah created everything that is to be created on the first day. The subsequent days, he's calling it into existence.
Okay.
He created the heavens completely, the earth completely, and then he starts calling the parts day by day to materialize. He speaks of things that are not as though they are.
Yes.
He created the kingdom, but it hasn't been called forth yet. Yeshua taught us to agree with him and calling for the kingdom to come forth. Your kingdom come, your will be done. So when we pray that, we're calling for Yah to bring that into existence. It's already there. It needs physical realm manifestations. In order for that kingdom to come, Daniel chapter 9 has got to take place.
Okay.
That's probably not the answer you're looking for, but that's the one I got.
Okay, that's great. Let me throw something into this mix. Something that began with a dear friend of mine in Lucerne Valley, California, numerous years ago, Alan Stanley. Yeah, you got it.
I know where you're going.
Yeah, of the Shema, of saying, of not saying, but declaring. I want to be clear. The Shema is not a prayer. The Shema, Hear, O Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. The Lord our God is one. Out of Numbers. The Numbers or Deuteronomy, but the Shema is not a. I get the Aaronic blessing and the Shema mixed up in which one is in Numbers and which one is in Deuteronomy. I know it's embarrassing, but the Shema is a declaration.
Devarim or Deuteronomy 6 and verse.
Okay, Devarim 6. Okay, I got that one now.
The address.
Okay, so it's a declaration. It's a declaration into the natural realm around us of a spiritual realm truth. So we're literally agreeing with the spiritual realm when we declare the Shema. You and I were, a few weeks ago, we were on a golf course back on a back tee, and it was 3:00, and we stopped on a hole on the green and declared the Shema. And I said, when's the last time do you think that this part of creation heard the Shema coming from two mortals, playing golf? Probably never.
That afternoon, we said it again in the wine section of Ingles.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to go there, but yeah.
Well, I did.
Yeah. So, here we have this declaration. And I just brought up the Shema Yisrael page on Facebook. There's over 2,300 people. I don't know how many of them they committed. I don't know how many of them are continuing to do this, but we have, I said, where are people from? Georgia, Arizona, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Mesa, Arizona, Texas, Florida, New Jersey, Winchester, Kentucky, Botswana, Africa, the Philippines, Colorado. I mean, I go on and on and on with New Zealand, somewhere I don't even know where it is, Pretoria, South Africa. I've been there. This is all of these people, even the nation of Texas. All of these people have committed around the world, Barry. I mean, probably every time zone now. I could go through and figure it out, but I don't have that much time or that desire to do so. But probably every single time zone, 24 time zones, there are people that are stopping at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock and declaring the Shema. Is this, could, I just, it's a question. Is this something that has been a move of the Ruach himself to bring people to the place of involving themselves in a declaration of the Tamid offering leading up to the Tamid offering?
I think so, Mike. As you're describing that, I'm thinking back to 2018. You and I are in Israel, and we are a part of a gathering of people from multiple nations, and a observant rabbi is speaking who has his secretary or office assistant with him in company. These are not believing in Yeshua people. And he is addressing on some subject. I forget exactly what it was he was talking about. I just remember he talked so fast that you did not have time to process what he had just said before he's already saying something else. And so I'm listening very intently, trying to catch what he is saying. And I noticed you looking at your watch, and it's quickly approaching 3 o'clock. And I realized what's getting ready to happen, because in Israel, wherever we have gone on this group that we have been a part of, 9 a.m., 3 p.m., we have stopped wherever we were and, as you have described, declared the Shema. And I thought, oh no, what's Mike going to do? Mike, you stepped in front of him and interrupted him and said, I apologize. You made a profuse apology, but there's something that we do every day at this time. And if you will give us just a moment. His office assistant was horrified at what this group of, in her estimation, Jesus people are getting ready to do.
Yeah, she didn't have a clue what we were about to do.
We stood as a group, faced Jerusalem, and declared the Shema. Her whole demeanor broke and changed. And then she interrupted to say, at first she was highly offended that this rabbi guy would be, and I say that rabbi guy is not this rabbi that she had great admiration for was being interrupted. But when she heard what our declaration, her whole demeanor changed, her whole outlook changed, and she began to recognize who we were. Maybe you can clarify that, but that is bringing the kingdom.
Yeah.
In that it is creating a bridge between the two houses that ultimately are supposed to be restored at the advent of the kingdom.
Well, that's not the first meeting that I've interrupted to declare the Shema. That when we were together with the B'nai Yosef group, I've done that numerous times. It's amazing now to be in a group. I mean, we haven't been, most of us have not been together much lately, but to be in a group and hear the phones go off. We were just with some mutual friends of ours. We're here at the house this past weekend, and 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, the alarms start going off all over the phone. Where's my phone? Somebody turn off my phone. And we would declare the Shema together. I've done this all over. I've done this with Rav Yehuda Glick in Israel, with Nati Ram, with Moshe and Leah Goldsmith, with Moshe Kopinski in his store. We were standing there in front of the burnt house one morning there in Jerusalem, and there's just a few people. It's just before 9. A few people are walking around there. The person that was supposed to open the burnt house for us to tour there that day was running a little bit late, like they do in Israel. And all of a sudden, it's people starting to look at their watches and going, what are we going to do? They look at me and I'm like, we're going to declare the Shema. And so at 9 o'clock, we stood up as a group of about 20 people there in front of the burnt house, in the streets of the old city of Jerusalem, and started singing the Shema. Never forget this Orthodox, the Hasidic Jew, black hat, black coat, white shirt kind of guy. He is walking along and looks over at us and just about ran into a pole. Literally came like this close to a pole. We've been up on the Tel Dan numerous times now. We've been at Tel Dan, and it was 3:00. Somehow we just scheduled it to be at the altar of the Northern Kingdom where the golden calf was. And we've stood there at that northern border and yelled the Shema.
I was with that.
You were there. Yeah. You were there. Yeah. And so, it just kind of dawned on me the other day, for those that will take the opportunity, set your clock, your alarm at 9:00 and 3:00. It takes like 10 seconds of my morning, 10 seconds of my afternoon, but it is maybe the only thing in my life that I'm absolutely consistent at. Consistency is something we probably all deal with. It's difficult, but I have my phone set at 9 and 3 every single day, and there's maybe one time out of a month that I'll have to turn my phone off for something. But other than that, it is set and consistent. I don't care if I'm in the paint section of Lowe's, the wine section of Ingles, or wherever I am. I don't yell it. Maybe I just sometimes say it under my breath. But it is going to be declared where I am. So, I invite people. Go onto our Facebook site, Shema Yisrael, sign up, be a part of this. What do we really think that we're significant, or let me use a different word that Barry Phillips uses often. Do we see ourselves as influential in connecting the realms together? Could something of me, or you, or any of our listeners, wherever you're at, could something of you standing in your natural space, wherever that may be, and saying, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod Malkoto, Leolam Vayed, Shalom Yerushalayim. Those are words that I say every day, twice. Is it possible, Barry, that's actually influential in the coming of the realms together? Or do I think I'm just kind of a blob out here that means nothing? See, sometimes we need to see ourselves as influential as he sees us, and not just as some kind of an accident that's walking through life.
I'll share this, and our time's running out fairly quick. We got about 5 minutes left. There was a video that was released a few months ago for those in the house of Yehuda, where they were encouraging people the world over to pray this prayer, asking for the return of Mashiach, or the coming of Mashiach, the appearance of Mashiach. And they were supposed to be praying it at a certain time. And there was this video clip of how the people the world over were learning to pray this particular prescribed prayer about the appearance of Mashiach. The understanding was that if they could get large numbers of people to pray this together, that something would happen in the spiritual realm and Mashiach would appear. So the concept that you're describing is not something that Yehuda would find weird or unacceptable. but actually it's something, from my understanding, what I have seen would be agreeable to them. And it's something that they can do with us. It's something that our brother Yehuda could adopt as a practice as well.
Yeah, I have, Orthodox Jews who are part of this page.
So, I mean, it's brick by brick, board by board, building a bridge. It's restoring what Hasatan has destroyed. It is rebuilding what man has destroyed. It is a balm of healing for the anti-Semitism between the houses.
Those that go onto that page understand I do not allow teachings.
Correct.
I don't post my own teachings. And I have to delete, I don't know how many teachings every single week. I'll message somebody, they still try. I still delete it. I don't allow doctrine to be placed on that page. And some people get upset about that. So what? This is not about what we don't agree on. This is about what we do agree on. And I'm protective. As protective of that page as anything in my life, I think, sometimes, because I'm not going to allow those. I will cut somebody off. I will delete them. I will block them in no time if they try to. This is something to me that's set apart. And, being on Facebook, okay, whatever the political stuff is about Facebook, let me tell you, Facebook is seeing the Shema.
And there it is.
Yeah.
Well, we have, we barely turned any dirt over, scratching the soil on this subject, Mike. I would encourage any of our listeners, all of our listeners, to start digging on the Daily Talmud. You can begin in Numbers, Bamidbar 28, verse 1. I think it's the first 6 verses there. Daniel chapter number 9, verse 27. Leviticus or Vayikra chapter 6, verse 8 and following. Exodus or Shemot 24. All of those are interconnected. It's a fascinating study. And, study what it meant to sacrifice an animal. I'll end with this. Somebody had to be responsible, Mike, as a Levite, to keep the fire going all night long. Because the command is the fire must not go out. And one may argue, well, as long as they can put fuel on the fire of coals the next morning, it's the same fire. But in order for that sacrifice, as you described earlier, to completely burn, it needed more than just coals underneath. It needed flames. So somebody had to be a night watcher and keep the fire going in the middle of the night. And so for those that, we discussed this the other a Shabbat or so ago at House of David. I asked, actually, I think it was last Shabbat, how many of you get woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning? About 80% of those in the room raised their hand. If you consistently get woke up, say 3 o'clock in the morning, before you turn over and try to go back to sleep, command your flesh to get out of the bed and begin to pray and see what happens. Now, that's a tall order even for myself, because I would prefer to roll over and try to go back to sleep.
Yeah, no doubt.
But it could be that Yah is asking somebody to put some fresh fire, or fresh wood on the fire in the middle of the night. Where are the night watchers?
Yeah. Consider, Barry, that if we have people that are in 24 time zones reciting the Shema, that around this world, and I know that Yehuda has been doing this for years. This is not something that's making us really special. They've been doing this for centuries, and we're just trying to catch up here. But Maybe it's their reciting of the Shema, their declaration of the Shema that's causing us to begin to declare it.
Very well could be.
That's a continual offering around the clock. So, what would it take? I think every single person that's listening to this should be picking up their phone about now and doing that. That's all it takes. That's all it takes, folks, is to just set your clock, your alarm, and then, wow, it's time to declare the Shema, and do it. Learn it in Hebrew. It's not hard. You can go into jointohashem.org. I've got a translation by Barry Phillips of the Shema, and I've got the Shema being sung there, and it wasn't by me, thankfully, but it does not take long to learn the Shema in Hebrew. Until you get that, read it in Devarim, chapter 6. Now I know where it's at. All right, Barry, take care.
Shalom, everyone. Thank you for watching Foundations for Life. We'll be back again next week.